go. I'm recording now. Let's go. Let's do this.
Hey, everybody. The Your Overwatch podcast here at last. It's been a while, but we wanted to get back into the swing of doing these because the format gives us a lot of flexibility in what we can talk about, go into depth on a lot of things. And this time, the new improvement is that we're on Twitch, which we're doing this on Friday night. And if it all works out, we'll continue doing it every Friday. I won't hold myself to that yet, but that's the plan anyway. Coach Frito will be moved indefinitely. I'll figure something out. Mods, go in the chat and change the little icon exclamation point thing to be determined, but I might just do it sporadically sometimes. I think this is more important though, because it allows us to get on the channel and sort of interact as a unit. Because a lot of times we make videos and we're only, you might get the impression that it's just one of our minds in that video. It's always all three put together actually, but now we can actually argue amongst ourselves about the various topics about the game, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So, was there anything I missed to talk about introduction-wise? Hi, I'm Frito, the ugly guy in the center of the podcast overlay.
I'm Weagle. Here we go. We're going to do this thing. What we're going to talk about first, that's Eddie. You don't worry about him. What else we're going to talk about? What are we doing first? Are we doing the Widowmaker thing? We're going to do the Mei thing.
Kick it off right away.
Okay, well, also, if you guys have questions in the chat, we may read some out. That'll go in the video because it's all on screen, same as the chat. So any questions or anything, that's fine. We're going to talk about Widow. So any opinions on what you think about Widow? We really want to see her buffed in a way to be back in the meta. I think that she'll change things, hopefully, for the best. I managed... What are you winking for, Frida?
The chat's talking to me. I'm just making... Keep going. I'm not trying to throw you off.
You did throw me off. You're just like winking at me. What are you doing?
Focus.
We want to see Widow buffed. She's apparently getting it. It's been buffed in the PTR, but we still haven't seen that come out. There was an update today. No idea what that was. I want to see Widow be buffed in a better way than just her quick scope. I think that she needs to be able to move around a bit quicker because the game is so much faster now, especially with the nano boost. She would need to be able to get out of the way at that at times, and there's still Genjis and Divas and Winstons being used, and Widow just, even with that buff, isn't going to be in the right place, I think. So she's still going to need something else. What do you guys think it should be?
I just thought of something within that sentence. I have never seen a nano boosted Widowmaker. Maybe it's like the best thing. Maybe she actually can quick scope normally, like just take people's heads up. How cool would that be? But
I hadn't thought of that.
Ultimately, the interesting thing with Widow is, to me, where I would like to see her put. I would like to get her to a point where she's where Pharah is now. Been watching the Overwatch Open, saw every single game. I might even watch some of them back because there's going to be such a gap between lands. But Pharah is in this really interesting place where she's technically easily countered and out of the meta if you look at her usage statistics percentage-wise. But I'm predicting that later on tonight, Tailspin is going to utterly wreck Misfits on Pharah because I don't think they're going to be able to counter her enough. Long story short, so Pharah was put into that ideal scenario for some heroes where she's in a category where under the correct circumstances, without being countered hard enough, with enough skill put in and coordination set up, it can dominate a game. And I think that's where Widowmaker should ideally be, not as the centerpiece of the meta, not the entire point of the game, but not useless either. And the way I think the best way to do that is to also, like you said, increase her mobility. And the most obvious one would be also at least try on PTR, see what happens, play with it, try it on, see what comes of it, but increase the respawn rate of the hook shot, and then she would fit closer to Pharah in a different way, which has that pick-off potential, insta-kill, but be less mobile than Pharah in a way as well, but more mobile than she is now.
Yeah, there is a weird balance there, right? Because you could easily go the wrong way and it would feel like she had it too much, where you could like zip here, shoot something, and by the time you've kind of done that, you can kind of hook away again if it's only 5 or 6 seconds long. So what do we think the sweet point is? 9 seconds? 8? I don't know.
Well, 6 is Winston's. So the question is, do you want it to mirror Winston's ability to chase her time to time? Probably not, right?
No.
So maybe 2 or 3 seconds more than that.
8, I would say.
8 or 9, yeah.
I think that she's never going to be a sniper character in a game like this, which is predominantly fought at like mid-range. with the game types that it has, there are opportunities to use her where there are long lines of sight, especially on defense and things like that. But if you want her to be a more dexterous character, like Frito says, where she can, under the right circumstances, dominate a game, I think she definitely. I disagree with the hookshot buff. I think that's more important than her scope in time. Actually, staying up as Widow. I know this sounds ridiculous for a character whose main job is shooting things in the face. Actually, staying up as her is incredibly important, and it's something that's very hard to do. I mean, you just take Winston, and what can she do, really?
Even so, in the Overwatch Open, she's been picked 2 or 3 times by my count, and a few things have happened. One, I believe Reaver had that insane opening on Anubis on the first point where he gets on top. The other team wasn't prepared whatsoever and picked them apart, and it looked great. Going to be on a highlight reel somewhere. But then there's the 2 or 3 other times she was picked on Hanamura, for instance. I can't remember the team right now. I wish I could. But basically, get up to a perch, snipe one, and then miss for the next 2 minutes, which happens a lot on Widowmaker, in that it's so hard to just hold that spot. The other team know you're there and get multiple opportunities to pick something off. There's just so much time. And so what do? Do you jump, you get that picked, you jump in and just rifle the whole time, and not really worth it. If you're going to do that, so many other characters will still be better. I think if she had the opportunity to then be mobile each time a little bit more, all of a sudden that sort of opens up her kit in such a way where that's viable, because too often do you grapple the spot, have a chance for a pick, hit it or not, and then do nothing for, forever, it seems.
Here's the thing about a Widowmaker buff is that it kind of feeds into a conversation that Frito, said on the channel, which is the triple tank meta, and we're going to talk about later, particularly the character Reaper having such a prominence in the DPS category. We can kind of segue into that maybe, is that the thing about damage characters in this game is that support and tanks are so strong that there aren't, at the top levels of play, there aren't a terrific amount of options. Now, people are going to say, there's great McCrees, there's great Faras. Yes, this is true. But for certain comps, McCree either needs complete babysitting and needs to be kept alive at all costs. So you saw this when Liquid, one of their best players, AZK, kept getting picked off on Numbani. Who was it against? Was it against Rogue? No, I thought
it was against Envy. Rogue's a EU team.
Yeah, it was against Envy.
And they did the same thing to Fnatic, by the way.
Yeah, and their best player is immediately gone. Now, the conversation we want to have is these characters like Widow, like McCree, skill shot characters. I would include Farah in that too, although slightly less because she's projectile, splash, and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like she doesn't have a huge skill requirement to her. Their niche, I would argue, approaching niche actually at this point, whereas other characters aren't. Reaper isn't really niche. So we're going to need to have that conversation. What kind of characters do we want? Do we want to weight the skill shot characters to be able to actually truly devastate a team, or do we want them to be fairly weak? Because I think that's where the devs are going. Actually, I think they want them to be balanced, but what does McCree have? Damage, and that's about it. Whereas there are some other characters who have a lot more than that, especially against certain setups. So,
and if you wanted damage, what teams are finding, not even against triple tank, hasn't even been the mainstay at this LAN, is just simply that Reaper, with being set up on top of the fact that nano boost charges so fast, is just free kills. There's no more efficient way to kill the enemy team than a nano boosted Reaper. And so why do all this extra jumping through hoops, 360 no scoping off the top rope stuff, when you can just nano boost him in and he wipes the whole team?
So the chat is memeing a little bit because Ed is too quiet for once. He can't hear you. Could you turn your mic up a little bit? Is that possible? Because I can't turn you up. So I don't think there's a massive difference. But sorry to cut you off there. You can carry on now. I just thought
turn up the Ed.
Okay, I should be better now. Okay, chat.
Yeah,
okay,
that's better. That's better. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so that's the conversation we're going to have. Like with all meta discussions, and we seem to go through like epochs, mini epochs of metas. You know, we had the Widow meta at the beginning, then we had the tank meta, then we had the frag meta, then that was nerfed away, and it's, you know, support characters became very dominant in not dominant as in they carried the game, but dominant as in what supports you took determined your style of play. So the prominence of Nano in the meta at the moment is arguably the most important single ability in the game as the game plays out now. So you've swapped a Widow being good for support being good, and you haven't really. It's no less imbalanced, actually. In fact, the Widow meta was harder because you had to shoot things in the head, right? And now you just heal your Rhine, and it builds up in like 5 seconds, and you're like, oh, Reaper, the least skillful of all the damage heroes, in my opinion. There you go, Zarya shield, you boosted, kill everything. Oh, you've killed everything, okay. And that's the meta now, all right? So you can say, I don't want Widow to be good because I'm tired of some grape-colored tart shooting me in the face. But pick your poison is my point. And I would rather have skill shot characters be dominant because they're harder to use, actually. But that's just my personal opinion.
I like that you said that, pick your poison, because that's exactly what the truth is, which is what we try to advocate early on in the channel this entire time, when so many complaints were made to seem that this dominates the game and it must be changed. That has always been our argument, and it's kind of become true. The good news is I still really like Overwatch the way it's been playing thus far, but I was also there to see Widow be used.
Yeah, we were there at the beginning
of it, right? To see the skill of it, and it is just that true. Like, do you want to get dominated by very difficult shots or by the coordination and just ult usage? I mean, ultimately, maybe that's what the community wants. Maybe that's what the pros want even. I still think we get really good games out of this meta, actually. But again, I liked it better last LAN when AKM was on McCree every time, not on Reaper.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I have to say.
For a podcast, you always want that guy playing devil's advocate to talk about different things, but I think we all agree on this. I think we just do. Just 100%.
Well, yeah, I try to devil's advocate right there, to be honest, because like the good news is the game's still great. It's just the sacrifices have to be made. And the one we made now is sacrificing some of the highest end skill characters into not just obscurity, but unusability. Because if you're using Genji or the thing is, Genji's, there's been amazing Genjis at this event, right? That just can't, they just can't. No amount of skill put into the Genji can output the same amount of the Reaper that insta-kills things. And it's crazy too, because we're talking about the Genji blade nerf, and I think the interesting thing is Liam actually has come around on this and said, you know, okay, the sword can be 6 seconds instead of 8. I think immediately he was like, no, my Genji. But the thing is, Reaper's normal shotguns with Nano is way better than just the Genji sword, which is harder to get, right? In order to get the same impact, it almost feels like you have to use both of those ults just to get that one value play. Now, the thing is, too, that we might want to try to re-engineer this conversation. We're talking a lot about the pro meta, and I'm definitely entrenched in it. I just made a video to my personal channel vlogging about the event, and I'll make more in the future. I'll try to link that in the description or something. You can look into that yourself. But I don't know necessarily if it's always best to align ourselves that way. So maybe we might want to shift this into the matchmaking general community side of things, unless there's more things we have to say about the event or something. But
I mean, it depends what we want to talk about. I do want to talk about Mei as well at some point. It depends how you want to go about it, really.
Okay, well, generally speaking, even I'll wrap it up with a cap towards outside the pro level. Even in our level of play, Nano Boost is just amazing. And we don't even have to put it on Reaper because teams just aren't as good at hitting sleep darts as the pros are. Like the pros are crowd controlling Rhines now. So you generally want to put it on a smaller target. But our level of play, me and Tuka could probably duo queue to Masters or something. You know what I mean? Like it's not that hard to dominate a game, just getting more nano boost than the other team. So hopefully the charge rate nerf is enough. I don't know if it necessarily is. My issue with the nade is that if the nade has a bigger bloom, which I messed this up on the video, by the way, I apologize about that. If the nade has a meter extra space, that's almost like she's gaining more ult as well, too.
Yeah, I was just about to make that point.
That's
I was
an
like,
indirect buff to her ult charge.
yeah.
And with that being said, too, I think the nade's too powerful, actually. I think if the nade didn't buff the healing of your teammates, too, I think it would still be amazing. But because it can buff, you can hit it on Rhine. It hit 2 of the enemy team and a few of your teammates maybe too, but at least 1, right? Rhine gets increased healing and they can't heal. The swing factor of that, I think, is way too massive. And now with a bigger splash, I think it's too much. First, I don't even think she needs that.
Yeah, she's very good. She's very, very good. If we want to transition into Mei quickly to deal with this, and then we can talk about matchmaking.
You want me to start since I'm the main Mei on this team? Yes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I always hated Mei, and then she got the buff, so I thought I'd try her out. And I thought, yeah, she's awesome now. And looking back on it, she was never not good. It's just no one realised how good her kit was. No one realised how good the wall was, where you can split people up. A few of the pros did, but it wasn't used enough because there was so... I think we all know the pros want to be kind of safe, and they don't always want to just go off and try new things sometimes.
They didn't play capture maps for a long time. Capture point.
And that.
Yeah.
So the wall wasn't seen as valuable, really. The fact she can heal herself and be invulnerable on a point and use her ult like at the same time, the ult's too good now. So they either need to like half the rate you get it, or just put it back where it was, because at the minute she's just too good. And that's coming from someone that loves playing her. I really do, but she's too good. She really is. I got my ult twice. I got it, used it, killed a few things, then I had it again 20, 30 seconds later, and it's just OP. It just needs to be nerfed.
Charge rate only or power?
I don't know. I think
it's that's tough to know because
completely that one ult can change a whole team fight, which is crazy. Some ults can do that, but no matter what, they have to make some sort of response. Is the issue?
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. I have a problem. First of all, I think she has too much health. I think she can survive for too long on her own. I think she needs to be punishable. If she's outnumbered, she needs to be punishable. And the thing that makes her really good now is that she can almost sleep dart herself, right? In an invincible box. She can be like, I don't want to fight you right now. I can sit in here for a matter of time, and you have to ignore me knowing that I'm going to come back. She has too much base health. 250 is too much, I think. She charges her ult too quickly. She's not a tank. She's an off tank. But how her health pool works, she is a tank. Okay, she is definitely a tank. She's very hard to kill, and she's one of the best characters 1v1 in the game because of her freeze gun and her icicle. So I understand why people are frustrated with her. I'd love having Liam play Mei on my team. I'm just grateful. I was saying this the other day while we were playing. We just finished streaming, but we were talking about getting better, and I said Mei is one of those characters that if the opposing team has a Mei that is good and knows how to use her kit, you kind of have to mirror that pick. And I think that's the same with Nano. I think that's the same with not too many, but a few things in the game that are really powerful that you kind of have to mirror sometimes, especially on like Triggermora, Hanamura, or some Eichenwald, some control point or assault points and their chokes. All right, King's Row ain't so bad. Right, King's Row can be, you see people walk through with their Rhine shield up to the wall and then Liam splits them off. But pros don't even bother going there; they just jump out the window out the side. So you can wall that off as well, but it's such a small hole and you cannot see them where they are. So you can the whole team can get through. I just think she's too good. I think she's too good right now.
She also
And
doesn't really have a counter at all, and that's another
No,
thing.
she doesn't.
And she gets so much free time, right? She's got 250 HP, so she could jump on the point, get hooked, and probably survive, because it's quite easy to survive that. Roadhog would be the nearest thing to a counter, but you survive it, and then you go into your bubble for 5 seconds or so, and again, no one else in the game gets that free time. Like Tracer, you can try it to stall out the point, but she's squishy. She dies so easily. You're gonna run out of blinks. You're gonna run out of rewinds. Whereas Mei, it's like, oh, I can stay alive. There's a wall. I'm still alive. I'm still alive. Oh, I've gone in my shell. I'm still alive. Oh, there's another wall. And
here's an ultimate.
It's just
We've won.
Yeah, it's just too much free time that it gives your team, I think.
The closest thing to a counter is anything that's ranged. So you said Roadhog, obviously, because he hooks from range, pulls her in, insta kills her. But the other things would be Pharah and Widow, but they have limited capability. So when you get a character that, I wish I had a term for this actually, and I might have to invent one. But when we talk about meta heroes, they have an aspect about them oftentimes where they're sitting in a nice spot that's very comfortable in that, well, yeah, you could play Pharah against this, but can you play Pharah pro team? Can you deal with the fact that Farah's more easily countered than Mei is anyway? Like, you can kind of deal with it, but
and let's be fair, Mei's can quite easily kill Pharah. All right, her projectile is not the hardest to hit in the game.
I think Tracer's the best against Mei. I think she's the best hero against Mei. And Pharah,
That's a good
she's
one.
not shooting, Tracer's the best.
Because the mobility and the burst is really what it is. That's what you kind of want.
You just burst her down. She's in a shell. She comes out, shrods her as you zip out, you zip in and kill her.
And if Widow was good, it wouldn't really do that much against Widow too. But
yeah, she could just ping her in the head. Yeah.
Earlier,
can Hanzo one-shot her? He can, can't he? Full charge, he can one-shot her.
Yeah.
And he could climb the wall, but the thing is, I think he's too immobile to the point where if you're picking him against her, there's a good chance she can get up on you and insta-kill you.
Yeah. That certainly happened.
Chippy asked in the chat a good question. Do you think the game will ever be balanced?
No. It's not possible. No. They'll always
because I think the answer
balanced is a myth.
Yeah. It has to be, it has to have a philosophy. And ours obviously is let the skill shots reign supreme. I mean, we came from playing Counter-Strike, I guess, right? Where one screen, one tap, headshots, insta-kill people. We're fine with that. Other people might want the characters to be shaved down in a way, I would say. Shaved down to the point where you have to have teamwork. And then when it gets to that point, then it's, well, you can't make individual plays, so you have to set up a Reaper to kill things because nothing else will get you the same amount of value. So you have to pick one and upset half of the people, unfortunately.
Yeah, hello to anyone in the chat that's joined, by the way. We will be playing after this. We want to do a podcast, bring it back, and we thought it'd be good for the live stream as well to do every Friday. So if you enjoy it, then make sure you come back. Thanks for showing up. So what did we want to move into next? Frida, you had something?
How much time do we have left?
I don't know. We can go for a bit longer. We've only been recording for 25 minutes, so one more subject, and then...
Okay, it might be two, I would say. But
okay,
we can talk about your video from today, or something else or I guess maybe our gameplay experience personally. We've kind of talked more philosophically, so maybe one of those two.
We can talk about they kind of move into each other a little bit, don't they? I mean, my video today, I don't know if anyone's seen it, is about how the ranking system works within the game. We were left till the last minute to know even what to title the video because we weren't sure, so we just went with like the problem with it.
Don't tell them that. No, we knew all along.
Yeah. I didn't. That wasn't my plan to title that. It triggers people when we say the problem because it sounds like we're being really negative. But I think a lot of our content is positive. It's just sometimes received in a negative way. And I said in the video that there's better systems out there already. So why do you rank up based on your individual performance? Because it's not. It's only a fair system if the system is flawless, which it isn't. So the best example is if you're a McCree, headshot, 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 you get value according to the system, therefore you rank up more. Whereas if maybe you take Mei and you don't do a lot of damage, but you put a wall up that saves your entire team and then you win, that's not counted at all in the system. So you, according to the system, you wouldn't be getting the value out of the hero, which is why it's never going to be a flawless system. So what we would propose is the same as CS:GO, where it's based on your team's performance. Now, I can see if you're a solo queue DPS player, you wouldn't prefer that because you may then get people on your team that suck and it'll bring your ELO down. But for most people, having a team ELO, not only is that better just all around, but it will force people to communicate with each other because they don't want to lose their ELO. And at the minute, people are just like, well, I'll just solo queue as Genji and ignore everyone. But if that's taken away from them and they can't do that, we can get more to the Overwatch experience of 6v6 rather than 6 lots of 1 against 6 lots of 1, because that solo queue meta is not fun.
The reason I agree with Liam, although I will say CS isn't perfect.
No,
okay,
it's not.
The system isn't perfect. I understand that there's always going to be error in these systems, and that some people aren't going to be rewarded as much as they should, and some people are going to be rewarded more. But the truth is if you make it to Diamond solo queue, right, just playing on your own, purely solo queue, the difference between your competency level and the level of competition that exists at Platinum in 6 stacks will shock you. Actually, it will shock you. This has happened to a number of people that we've got in to play with us, and because we solo queued early in season 2 and I was playing healer all the time, because we took the strategy of, well, let's try and fill all the roles to make our comp as much like the comp that we could do, that should be, right? And we just lost because solo queue doesn't play like that. Solo queue is a very different game to what you watch the pros play or what you can try and play in a 6 stack yourself. So it's hard to get a system that rewards both. And some people have argued that you should have a 6-man ranking and a solo ranking. I don't know where I stand on that.
I think it has to go to the CS:GO system. I really do, where it just ranks your team that you get matched with against their ELO. That way, if they've got high ELO and you've got a lower one and you win, you get loads of points. But if you lose, if you're on the other end of that, you're the higher ranked and you lose to the people lower than you, then you lose more ELO. That makes sense. Whereas this system, it isn't really an ELO system at the minute. It's kind of like each character has its own kind of inbuilt system, and some of them are balanced more than others, and it just doesn't work. It simply doesn't work, and everyone gets ranked between like mid gold to mid plat, and it's very hard to climb out of there. And as we mentioned, low plat, which we got knocked down to again, was very difficult in a 6 stack. And it isn't balanced either, because when we were at Masters in the same 6 stack, it was just as difficult as in Platinum. It
was basically the same level of competition.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I don't understand the thought process behind individual ranking when so much of the game is tied up with setting up your teammate in the right way. So in fact, what this system does is it doubles down on all of the bad aspects of this game, unfortunately. It doubles down on individualistic DPS picking play, because those players can play for stats and get better ranking than a player who understands the team dynamics of the game, fills roles, and tries to set up what I call like set plays. Things like a Counter-Strike thing, or maybe like an American football thing. Again, some of these terms I think in some ways are useful to be invented for this game because it is such a new thing. But in Counter-Strike, like a set piece play is everyone stands in a certain spot and throws smokes and nades in the right spot and they all land there. A set play in Overwatch to me is like the concept of how to perfectly Winston Zarya initiation. Now, those of you who know what that is already can fill in this sentence. You already know how to explain it. But the way to explain it is the Winston jumps in, Zarya bubbles first, and this is very important because Zarya needs charge, and you also want to extend the life of Winston to the max degree. Once the shield is broke, then Winston drops his bubble, and that buys you tons of time and buys you space. This is how you make Winston a main tank, by the way. A lot of people who play solo queue think Winston can only take off individualistic battles, and that's not the case. The pros have showed us how to utilize this to the fullest extent. The difference between even just knowing that and then playing in a Beatty, Genji, DPS playstyle where everyone's picking DPS is wildly different, because you can't take that player who plays solo queue and plays for stats and put him into a system where everyone's doing these set plays. And I could list more, setting up a crack on the Rhine shield or to stun the Rhine shield and overwhelm it. There's a lot of things you can do in this game, which as you play more and more to emulate the pro side of things, you have to learn. Um,
A big one is um, solo McCree's playing without a Ryan Shield, or which you can do, you can play McCree without a Ryan Shield. That's the optimal situation for him, is to be protected and be able to shoot out. Right? You can play McCree without shielding that's necessarily around him, but there has to be the space for you to play that way and hit your shots. And a lot of solo queue will just pick McCree without evaluating what's my shielding situation, how likely am I to stay alive, am I going to stick with my supports, or am I, quite a lot of people play this kind of like weird, and I've done this, this weird flanking McCree, which is like McCree off on his own, which is absolutely the way you do not want to play him. Actually, at the top level, if you are an isolated McCree, they say thank you very much.
Not even at our level. Sorry, not at the top level. Even at our level, if you McCree and you're on your own and against a 6-stack, you're going to get destroyed. But they can get away with it in solo queue, and people don't realize it. And it's like there's two different games. We've already done videos on the different metas in the game and how it. We just need to bring it closer to one package, because at the minute it's like, oh, the solo queue is over here and we're over here in the 6-stack, but kind of like, how are they ranked higher than us? But we're playing people at Platinum that seem like they should be at Diamond or Masters even.
They should be higher than that. I think if you're playing in a 6-stack, like there should be a ladder that you join or something that's that's like separate team matchmaking, and that you get ranked as a team player, not as an individual. Like because you can not always guarantee that you're going to have the same people in the 6-stack. So you have a team ladder where you have like, this is my rank when I'm playing in a team, not a team that always remains the same, but a team of 6 players. And this is the rank I have where I'm just playing
almost
on
like
my
a
own.
clan, almost like you could invite 20 members and that's kind of your clan's number, and then
the clan's rank, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would do it. Like, this is the thing. Like, we're not always saying we have exactly the right answers, but I just want to further this point about DPS and solo picking and solo queue, is that I don't know if any of you in the stream the other day saw the game where me and Liam got frustrated with healing our teammates who picked DPS and did nothing at solo queue. That's what happens, right? So we now, as a form of catharsis, take Widow and Hanzo at the same time. And we actually played, just us two and Tuka actually in a 3-stack. And this happened on Dorado.
Oh,
No, it happened on the first one twice, happened on Anubis, which is where we got the meme from. But the actual second game was kind of more impressive, and there was a third game as well. But Dorado, basically, we spent the first round Operation Healing, and it went disastrously. Okay, because our teammates didn't do anything. Didn't even know how to utilize being supported at all.
I had gold damage.
Me and Liam just decided to Hanzo and Widow, and our team went no healer. And full held.
Yeah.
No healer. None.
Zero.
Roadhog, Mei, Widow, Hanzo, Soldier. Just a comp that makes no sense. And this is at like high plat. And this is how the game is played. Meanwhile, when we're playing as a team in a 6, the game is like, okay, they're going to nano here. They're doing this. They're setting up this play. They're going to do this. We need to count ults. Are we ahead? Are we behind? Like, look, can you play Lucio? Well, I can press E. All right, that's not playing Lucio. Can you actually play Lucio? Yeah, all right. And then the Lucio, Tom, who's probably watching the stream, is a good Lucio who knows how to make calls and make plays and understands Lucio in the team context is incredibly important and all that stuff. Back to solo queue. Hanzo, Widow carry. Okay, all right. These are apparently the same levels of play. All right, sure they are.
Yeah. And I got to say something too, right? Because Tom, I like as an example, because we often don't find people who know the full extent of what a hero means to play, right? And Tom actually knows how to make calls. We're speeding in to press this advantage. We don't have to like explain it or ask him to do it or whatever. But regardless of his statistical healing he gets from game to game, compared to, let's say, other Lucios who just stand healing the whole time while the poke at the choke meta occurs and they're spamming going, and maybe that other Lucio in solo queue meta has better healing, and in the system here he has more stats, he has better healing, he must be a better player, he's getting more rank. Meanwhile, Tom actually knows the character and how to win as a team. So to me, the only thing that should matter here is wins. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Because if Liam puts on a Mei wall and saves us from the Diva Ultimate coming at us, that play is worth so much more than any statistical thing that you can measure. There's no way Blizzard could measure playmaking capacity because it.
How?
Again, we've made videos about this. Trash damage versus impact frags. There's a huge chasm between these two concepts, and pure stats alone don't show it.
They just don't, and they don't in real sports, by the way. They don't. They don't. There are certain things that certain players do in professional sports that pundits refer to as the immeasurables. What a stat won't tell you about what a player does and what they contribute. So now that can be something as even as flippant as personal charisma. So in the locker room, they're like glue. They glue this, other more talented players with bigger
is a position. Sorry,
which is a position, yeah.
In Overwatch too, though.
Yeah, their personality glues the bunch together, makes them a better team. You can't measure that with a stat. Now, I'm not saying that's the same as being Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time. It's obviously not, but it does contribute, and you can't empiricize that. It's very difficult to be like, right, well, not only are we going to judge every character differently, they've also all, obviously, because they don't play the same role, they've also got all these different criteria. So, Lucio, if you spend 96% of the match on fire, then you might get as many points as a McCree who killed one thing. I think.
I think
Maybe
you're
that's
overestimating. I think you need to be 99% on fire to meet a McCree that missed all of his shots but one in a whole
and
game.
That's something about the speed or the heal with Lucio that demonstrates to anyone who knows the game whether the Lucio knows how to play Lucio. All right? Now, a good Lucio is looking to exploit his speed boost on his amp to make plays more than using the heal. You can also make plays with the heal, like you said, if you get caught in a graviton and you throw down an Anonade and you use it like a ghetto transcendence, you health boost amp, so you heal really quickly in the grenade and all that kind of stuff. That's something that Siegel talks about on his stream. You can make plays with the heal, but it shouldn't just be on by default. Right, and a good Lucio will know that, which is why in the Trigger-Mora game that we all laugh about, when me and Frito were playing as the healers, our DPS were poking at the choking, doing nothing. I was Lucio, all right, and I had speed on because I thought we're going to push past this and make a play, and my guys aren't interested. My guys are just like, I'm McCree without Reinhardt, ping, 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 oh, I'm dead. Come out of spawn, no shielding, ping, ping, oh, I'm dead. It's the healer's fault, guys. Why aren't you healing me? Without understanding how to play the game. So I don't know. It's a funny experience. It's definitely difficult to reconcile those two styles of play.
There's someone just put in the chat, you've got a very hard name to read, but I'm going to call you Ode because that's the first three letters. Says that he constantly gets shit in solo queue for using speed boost with Lucio. Turn it off. And that's exactly the problem we're explaining, is solo queue meta is completely different to the 6-stack. And it probably is even up to Masters. I would say there's a lot of people. I think it would get better at Masters, but I can guarantee you there's like a really good Genji that's got to Masters and then is maybe got there and thought, oh shit, I don't know how to do anything else. There's a Winston on me. Help. And then he'll get demoted, and then maybe that'll make people realize, well, maybe I should learn more than one thing and the different aspects of the game. Because Lucio's best part of his kit, other than his ult, well, probably more than his ult, is his speed boost. His healing isn't fantastic. It's good. Speed boost is better. 90% of the community don't know that, and that's the problem.
But I have to stress that if you can't play with friends for whatever reason, or don't have enough, or if you're playing in the solo queue hell meta, the solo queue meta, where people are playing selfishly, you're going to have to play into that, unfortunately. Now, there's no point, in my opinion, to try to enforce set plays on players that just don't understand them. There's not enough time to explain them in the game. You'll have to poke at the choke and hold on heals, and hopefully you break the Rhine shield. Meanwhile, you don't have a Rhine. The other team does. You have two hit scans that aren't even good enough DPS to break a Rhine shield. You have to reload every few seconds anyway, but just go with it. Just see what they can do. With it. There's no other option, really. And then that's why ultimately it comes down to, like, certain heroes that we don't advise you to play solo queue at all. To be honest,
Yeah.
you might as
Which
well
is
play
why-
Ana. Might as well play Ana, burst heal that guy, and then nano boost him, right? And he'll have no idea why it worked, but more likely to win.
Which is why in the miracles that happened with the Hanzo Widow meta that me and Liam invented, that's why it worked. All right. If you don't know why it worked because instead of being like and this sounds terrible, like we're saying screw over your teammates. Actually, we're trying not to, but we're trying to play into the fact that they show little interest in coordinating or doing anything. So we pick. I mean, obviously, Widow Hanzo is a joke, and we did it, out of despair. But it worked, right? And
Because you kill them, it's hard to lose if you get picks every time.
if you're getting picks all the time, it's hard to lose. If they come up on Anubis and I headshot their Pharah straight away and then kill their Zen, and then Liam kills another 2 people, it's very hard for them to take the point. And that all happened in a space of like 3 seconds. It's very hard for them to push in overtime when they're all dead. You see?
Not a reliable strategy in the 6v6 meta,
No.
but great
No,
in
not at all.
solo queue. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is that
So
it?
there's that.
Is that it? Are we done? We're done with the podcast. We're going to stream some playing time now. We're doing that?
Sure.
Okay, so if you watch the podcast, it's on the YouTube. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments what you thought or any thoughts, opinions on what we talked about or anything. Drop a like, subscribe, all that. Follow Twitter and check out our stream. We'll be podcasting live every week. So thank you. Bye. But not you stream people. You stay here. You don't go anywhere. Okay? Don't. Can you fuck off? Thank you. Right. So I'm going to stop that recording.